Hi guys, my name's Chris, also known as Wolf here in Trimaris. I'm making this video on single-handed weapon construction and general weapon construction as kind of a service to the SCA and to those who want to come into the SCA as a introductory class on how to make your own weapons. It's really simple. First off, if you've done any research into the SCA or heavy combat, we use rattan. It's kind of a solid bamboo. You have to use rattan. You can't use an equivalent like whatever you find, your mom's broomsticks, whatever. It also has to be at least 1.25 inches thick because our bar grills are no larger than 1 inch, so it prevents, stick in the eye, because that's never good. We're going to start by just making this little dagger. It's simple, it's quick, and it'll suit the purpose of the video. First off, I'm going to kind of approach the camera here. If you notice, that edge there has kind of been rounded down or beveled. That's required because even if this is taped up, that sharp edge, you never know what could happen to somebody. So to get started, you're going to need your piece of rattan, at least 1.25 inches thick and to your length liking. I believe the max is 48 inches. And I don't believe there's a minimum, but this is definitely going to be legal once it's done, because we are going to need some blue foam. I recommend the blue foam you would find in the camping section at Target, Home Depot might have it. Walmart's always a good source. You're going to need some strapping tape. It's going to be the most expensive part next to the rattan. Then you'll need at least 2 contrasting colors of duct tape, a third, maybe even electrical tape that makes the lining of the blade easier, and some string for a single-handed weapon. A secondary weapon such as a dagger does not need a lanyard, but we'll get into that in a minute. The first thing we're going to do is what I like to do is to add the thrusting tip. The thrusting tip on a single-handed weapon, you have to have at least 3/4 inch of material in front of the stick. So this 1/2 inch piece of foam is not enough. You add 2 of them together, that's 1 inch, that's a lot more than you need, and it also gives you the 3/8 inch progressive give inwards that you need. And it has to be across the entire face of the thrusting tip. It can't just be in the center. So this method, it's passed every time, and I've never had a problem with my thrusting tips. So what we're going to do here is take a strip of that strapping tape and pick it up our little square that is the same diameter as our stick, and we're going to put that thing right on the end there, and we're just going to pull it down a little bit. We're not trying to compress it, but we are trying to hold it in place and kind of keep it in its place. So a little compression is okay, but remember, we have to maintain that 3/4 inch material between the top of the thrusting tip and the base of the stick. We're going to add 2 layers of that, and what I find as a very good method, especially if you use like a square cut out to your stick, is I've gone that way once. I'm going to go instead of going right over it, I'm going to kind of go the other way. And what that does is that then helps hold the bottom one in place and kind of creates a good line. And when you get into mass weapons or two-handed weapons, which will go into another, that kind of rotating theory of taping is actually going to make sure that that thrusting tip stays straight and nice and smooth. We're going to take a base color of bright neon pink, just so we can see here, and we are going to just kind of peel the end here. We're going to start right at that thrusting tip. So that first wrap is actually going around all of the thrusting tip with the top exposed, and probably the first 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch of our stick exposed. And that kind of locks that thrusting tip in. I then take my strapping tape, which be very careful with because it frays and gets all crazy on you. And we're going to barber pull that all the way down. Now, some people don't like the strapping tape around the stick, and you may opt to because it's cheaper not to use it. I happen to like it for a few reasons. One, it's a lot stronger than duct tape. It provides an extra layer of padding against your stick. Yet, even though the shields have to be edged, edging does come off. Some edging's not as good as others, and you never know. You don't want your sticks getting really chopped up. You got this nice tape job, you got this nice new piece of rattan. I know that for a long time rattan was hard to come by. You couldn't get it mail order like you can now. I get all my rattan now from H.H. Perkins. You can look them up. They have great deals on rattan. They have a wide selection, and I've never gotten a crooked piece. When they say straight 3-inch rattan, I have it out back to prove that, straight and 3 inches. So they're good people, H.H. Perkins is. I'm also not being paid by anybody. These are all my own opinions. So other than that, providing an extra layer of protection and holding that stick together from broom handling, it really does kind of help with the duct tape because it's not adhering to the rattan, it's adhering to another piece of tape. And if you've ever had two pieces of tape stick together, I mean, it can be a real pain in the butt. This time we are going to start at the top again. Again, right there at the top by the thrusting tip. Now, a lot of people are going, why don't you just use the strapping tape right around the top of the thrusting tip multiple times? Well, that would prevent that 3/8 progressive give that we need. We want it stiff. We also want it to do its job, and when you're thrusting somebody, you want them to be able to feel it, but we're not looking to hurt our friends. So, we do want to kind of keep it stiff and rigid, but we still want it soft. So, the reason I do that also is if you get a tip shot and you're using that last little bit of your stick like you're supposed to on some shots. I can't tell you how many times before I did this method, one regular strapping, then more regular, how many times I've just absolutely blown off my thrusting tip. And next thing I know, they're saying, hey, you can't use that sword, it's got rattan exposed. That's bad juju, especially when you only brought one stick to the event and no extra duct tape. So remember, always bring more duct tape. It never hurt nobody, so... So now we have our thrusting tip exposed. We're going to take a piece of black tape, our contrasting color, because in some kingdoms they require that the thrusting tip be a different color than our actual blade edge. So what I like to do, take a 3-inch piece of tape, cut it in half. You got 2-inch-and-a-half squares. Go over the top one way. Kind of close it around. Go over the top the other way. And then one more layer of pink tape around that. It actually works better. I've kind of screwed up here. If you do that step before applying the last layer of duct tape there, because essentially you'll get the same effect but with less tape, and it looks a little bit better when you don't screw up like I just did. So for shame on me. So now we have a dagger. It's a contrasting color, bright pink, black, but like I said before, some kingdoms require that you have a third color. It's kind of gray area in the Marshal's Handbook here because it says a contrasting color. It does not say a contrasting color for each, but contrasting colors. So yes, technically a black line down both ways would be perfectly fine. But to alleviate any questions with the marshallet, it's always good to, err on the side of caution. So what we're going to do, if we can figure out what the heck is wrong with my tape here. Alright, we're just going to tear that off there. And we're going to find which way we want to hold our stick. Put our flat piece of electrical tape straight up. And then straight down. Make sure it's, straight coming over the top there. And there you go. Now, let's say you're going to use it on a longer stick. You're going to need to attach one of these. This in particular is a Baldar basket hilt. I believe you can get it from ValkyrieForge.com. Look up House Asgard, and you can, or your local armorer, because most of them carry them now. It's kind of the hot thing. I know a lot of regional armorers will make their own basket hilts, so you find what you're comfortable with. These in particular, I really enjoy. I put the stick in, attach it with a hose clamp with tape around it because you don't want no sharp edges protruding. And then you have to add a lanyard. Just get you some string, tie you a knot, make sure it affixes to the sword in a way that it can't come undone. So if you have your basket hilt, go through the hilt, tie it down, and make a loop, stick that on your arm, and if the sword goes loose, you're stuck to a lanyard with a single-handed weapon. Well guys, that is the first video and hopefully a series. I hope you enjoyed it and hope that you have a good time fighting. Have fun.